All right, number 2.
How can I help you, boss?
Fancy a date?
Very impressive.
That's the second time the Sweetness trailer's popped up. Anybody else notice that? So this is Fable. If you're familiar with Fable, you know what Fable is. If you don't know what Fable is, it is an imaginary world based in called Albion, created by Peter Molyneux back in the day when Peter Molyneux was still making things that weren't completely predatory and fucking up your day. Unfortunately, and fortunately at the same time, Peter Molyneux and Lionshead are probably not attached to this in any way, shape, or form. All right. Unfortunately, what we did get is a Microsoft version of what Fable should be. And I'm going to be honest with you out the gate. I don't know if we needed a fantastical, like, almost real life, photorealistic version of Albion. People may not like the cartoony nature of the originals, and that might be a selling point that
AdCat.
they maybe know.
Wasn't MS pretty involved in Fable 2-3?
Microsoft's a publisher, man. They were definitely involved in it, and I would argue though that Fable 3 probably had more interference from Microsoft than Fable 2, which is why Fable 2 is a much better title than Fable 3. I'm probably wrong because I'm a biased gamer like that, but I do believe that anytime fucking Microsoft gets involved, the game's usually probably worse than it would have been without them being involved. I don't know. Fable 2 is a masterpiece. Fable 3 is kind of a shit show, the exact opposite of what Fable 2 was. However, I've played all 3 of them, and I love all 3 of them, and only one of them can currently be played on PC proper and or Steam, and that's Fable Anniversary Edition. So if you want to check out the world of Albion, I highly recommend you head on over and find the Fable Lost Chapters, Anniversary Edition Lost Chapters. I forget what it's actually called, but both of those are on PC. Fable 3 was done for games on Windows Live, and as far as I know, is still not playable in any way, shape, or form on PC today, unless you actually go and pick up an Xbox Game Pass and you play Fable 1, 2, and 3 on the console. The downside is that there's no like importing of your character saves, and so your progress from Fable 1, Fable 2, and Fable 3, they're all different characters, so there's no progress that carries over. However, I think if you played Fable 2 and then went to Fable 3 on the Xbox, I think there was a reward for like certain stats, like reaching like a certain amount of money and stuff on Fable 3. Also, you could still play them on the Xbox 360 if you happen to have one. Just finding a copy of the games may be difficult if you don't have them digitally because the Xbox 360 Live Store has since shut down, and so all you can do, I believe, is re-download properties you already own, but you can't buy any new games, as far as I know. So, yes, that aside, I don't know how I feel about the realistic graphics. I feel like they could have kept with like what they did for Fable, as far as like storybook, because so Fable is a storybook, right? Basically, you're telling the hero's tale, good guy, bad guy, right? You know when your parents used to read out of the storybooks to you, if they read to you storybooks. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I feel like that's what it was supposed to be, and I feel like this completely shits on that narrative, that aesthetic. There is no storybook narrative anymore, or storybook aesthetic, and frankly, I think that kind of sucks for this game because it kind of leaned into the choose your own adventure type of stuff. Like it was a storybook where you were the hero or the villain of the tale, and you got to kind of like make those moments matter. I don't know if the photorealistic world is necessary or the more photorealistic world, but it is 2026, and this is what everybody seems to love. People bitch about cartoony graphics. That's why people don't play WoW. I don't know. I feel like the original aesthetic though would have been fine for this, and it kind of loses any personality that the game franchise had It's almost like when they rebooted Saints Row. The reboot of Saints Row is too clean, and it just felt so far away from what Saints Row gave us as like the aesthetic, right? I felt like they kind of just shit on that to go for like more realistic graphics, and again, maybe that's just my personal opinion, but I feel like that's a very real thing. Don't get me wrong, I think the world looks fantastic, but I feel like this is going to cause issues on a lot of systems, right? Or it's going to be a very short game, right? The world's going to be kind of probably fucky and maybe not as big as it could be or not as much as we want. Is this Oakstone or something? I don't even know the places. Like, I've played the game, but I don't remember all the places. All right, so anyhow, let's keep going. This is interesting. I don't think Fable has ever had horses. So we're getting horses in Fable, which leads me to believe that the worlds are probably fairly large, which completely contradicts my previous statement that I just said. My bad. Or they're forcing the horse to make the world look bigger than it actually is, maybe. I don't know. This isn't interesting. I'd like to see how big this world is. I don't know if I care for the photorealistic setting. I don't know if we need that for Fable. I think, again, Fable should be like a storybook, like, type of aesthetic. I don't get that from this. Be the hero you want to be. This is interesting. I don't know if this was originally planned, but after all of the feedback that people got when they showed the first trailer off, and everybody's complaint was the ugly protagonist. What the fuck you forced us to play ugly bitches for? Like that whole narrative is fucking awful. And all those people are horrible individuals. But if this was always intended, then their narrative makes them look even more fucking shallow and pedantic and like dickbags that they are. If this was done after that feedback, great. That's why we give them feedback, guys. We maybe could do it a little bit more constructively. We all are guilty of not doing that sometimes, me especially. I mean, ask Sig why they stopped coming around to my streams. It's cool. I'm totally about customizing your character. The thing is that as far as I know, you've always been able to customize your character in Fable. So why people assumed the fourth game in the series, which is basically a spiritual reboot, wouldn't have that, would say to me they've probably never played the other Fable games and they're just trying to like farm outrage to farm outrage. Plain and simple. Let's see, what's next? The next scene. So we're going to go back to my bitch. The combat in this game is probably lackluster as fuck. And the reason why I say that is because anytime they give us a montage of combat-related clips, it's because they either don't want to spoil the combat for good reason, or the combat sucks, right? And we get this. This is maybe a harpy. So we're attacking a mythical harpy. I'm assuming this is a harpy, or some kind of a harpy-esque creature, right? Which is kind of cool. Interesting thing I've noticed, though, is we're in a horseshoe clearing, so I'm guessing this is the harpy's nest. These must be eggs, right? Kind of a Witcher-esque type of setup, I think, right? We've got 3 dots and then a health bar. So I'm going to assume this is a health bar, and I'm going to assume this is dodge stamina, so they're going for like a Souls-like game system, which in all actuality, the original Fable gameplay was kind of like Souls-like before Souls-like was a thing, I think. Fable's original combat was incredibly unforgiving. And so if you didn't dodge or block and shit, like when you were supposed to, you'd get hit like a fucking truck. We tried playing this a few years back, the anniversary edition, and I went into the first mission with a couple challenges and just got my fucking ass beat. Like, it wasn't even a contest. So, yeah. The combat in this game could be challenging, and if it's challenging, it might actually add more to the game for some people. But the biggest thing about Fable was the integration of spells and swords and ranged, and the way you could just like kind of like switch between them. If that doesn't exist anymore, I would be pretty disappointed because that was one of the big things about the combat in Fable that I really enjoyed. And yeah, but see how fast this goes by. Look at this. Look. Seriously, look how fast this is. It's less than 2 seconds. 11, 12, not even to 13 before it switches. Like it shows less than 2 seconds of combat. Build an extraordinary life. And notice we get 1001, 1002, 1001. Like, we're getting more time on every scene except for the combat scenes. Just a bunch of fucking walking around and showing off the different NPCs in the world. Again, I don't know that photorealism is important in this world. They show that they've got dating in the game, which is interesting, because that was always one of the best parts about Fable is, like, basically, you date everybody, you get everybody to like you marry a bunch of people, you send them into your houses, you own the whole fucking town, and you basically bankrupt everybody by charging too much rent, or you're the nicest guy in the world because you...
I want to be a slumlord.
Exactly, the slumlord. Yes, exactly. The slumlord in Fable was awesome. One of these days, we will do a full Fable 1 through 3 playthrough, I think.
Love him a fishy.
And we'll do it on 360.
With 12 wives.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Love him a fishy. And 1 husband.
Only one, huh? Okay, so they're bringing back the kids.
And 1 questionable wife.
They're bringing back the kids.
Kitty cat. Did you ever finish Outer Worlds W2?
Dude, check it out. This little girl is like totally breaking the fourth wall and staring right at the fucking camera. She's like looking right at me like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you watching this game trailer? This game is awful. I hate you. Like, seriously. Like that's exactly the face she's giving us. Right now. I'm not even making this up. She's just so fucking frustrated and pissed off. Bowerstone. So we're in Bowerstone. Inside. The house is Bowerstone. So housing is a thing, wife is a thing, children are a thing in this game. Which would be interesting. What would really be interesting is if you could continue your hero legacy with your children after you've died an old age.
Kitty cat. This game looks good.
I definitely think it's got potential. Assuming they actually, like, a game can look good, but if the gameplay isn't anywhere near the original's gameplay, or if it doesn't, like, align with what Fable is expected to be. Again, Fable's a fairy tale. Storybook fairy tale. And if the reinvention of Fable doesn't kind of follow that, then I think they're going to run into the same issue they ran into with Saints Row. Saints Row was not supposed to be what it was, right? It was supposed to be a much more unserious version of like the Grand Theft Auto model, and they kind of made it more like Grand Theft Auto, like a more serious Grand Theft Auto in the updated version, which I think completely killed Saints Row. And that's because the people creating the game just didn't understand why Saints Row originally was such a good game, why people enjoyed that franchise, and it was because
Kitty cat.
It didn't take itself seriously.
You should see TJH.
I don't know what TJH is. Your choices change the world.
Kitty
Okay,
cat.
so this is a dumb...
You should see the new Samson game. It's like Sleeping Dogs Combat with a GTA story. Blubber fishy. Did you try out Rustler? Was free for a bit on Epic Arca Grand Theft Horse LOL.
I've had that game for long before it was ever free on Epic Games. I think I got it on a Humble Bundle like a million years back. Not really played it though. I have it, but I haven't really played it. So this is interesting in the trailer here. Your choices change the world, and yet we kick a chicken. We get to see Jasmine there, who, by the way, she's a cutie. I don't know what the change is here. Oh, you know what? Maybe. So, this is kind of cool. We got giant pumpkins and giant tomatoes, it looks like. So, there definitely is some of that fantasy storybook here. I don't know. We'll see. We'll be playing this day one, guys. Like, if you're curious, we'll play this day one. When it comes out, we'll be playing this. This is all we're going to be playing that week. Most likely. Like, this is one of those games where I'm just going to dig into, and we're not going to fucking leave until we're done. Probably. Fairy tale ending not guaranteed. Anybody who played the original Fable knows that you can be either the hero of the story or the villain, and depending on your choices, you may or may not get that storybook ending, right? It sounds like they did away with the evil versus good stuff, and they went in lieu of the morality is different for everybody bullshit. So in order to avoid any definitive narrative of good or bad, they've decided that hey, everybody makes their own choice about what's good and evil. And frankly, I think they missed the mark on that. Just that's my opinion right now, but we'll see. Like there are verifiable things that are good and verifiable things that are evil. And the fact that they chose not to do that in the game, I feel like is a cop out. Because one of the best parts about it was, and I would say one of the best parts about the Old Republic, one of the best parts about Star Wars The Old Republic, one of the best parts about any game that does a good versus evil dichotomy is when they allow your character to evolve. Obviously give us the ability to turn it off if we want to, like in Mass Effect and in Star Wars and all those other games. But that corruption has always existed. It was in Fable, it was in Mass Effect, it was in Star Wars The Old Republic 1 and 2, it was in Star Wars The Old Republic. So this is a novel, not a novel, this is a tried and true mechanic that gamers either appreciate or don't, and you just have to give us a way to turn it off. But you should never not do it because you want to give gamers the feeling that their morality is like based on their own, like I don't know how I feel about that. Like murdering people is evil. It is. And so by not giving us that in game, I feel like you're kind of basically saying, hey, it's okay, just do it. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't. I feel like that corruption is a good thing to have in the games, and it's something that we should be able to turn on or off, but having horns grow out of your guy who is objectively fucking evil is something that matters, right? Having your player in Baldur's Gate 3 change, having Gale say, well, I've done some pretty shitty things and I thought that was the worst of it, but Jesus Christ, you put me into a whole new level here, right? Like that is a morality that sticks, right? We see that in the game, and if that exists, okay, but like again, they're taking out something that was a core to this, and I can get over the art style. I could probably get over the corruption feature, unless the morality in the game is exactly that, and it's just kind of like wishy-washy, and there's like really no morality because everything is good or evil depending on whose eyes you're like. That's just such a cop-out statement. You know, that's like such a cop-out statement. Even Anakin Skywalker saying that, in my opinion, the Jedi are evil, still had dark side corruption. You know what I mean? So I smell something burning. Um, yeah, I don't. It looks interesting. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to. Oh, giants. Okay, right, the giant. Notice they never show her face. I believe this is the same character avatar that they showed in the first trailer that everybody hated. So they just don't show her face, so that people won't cry about her face being ugly. Right? You only get the side profile, so you can't actually see it. Even though I'm pretty sure this is the same woman they showed off in the first trailers. Yeah, looks good. Like I said, we'll be playing the shit out of this. 100%. 100,000%. Totally playing it.